Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to reveal my top 9 growth stocks to buy right now in August, and I'm also going to compare how my portfolio of top growth stocks to buy have performed against the S&P 500 index year to date in 2024. This is going to be a relatively short video going briefly into each of these stocks. If you want deeper analysis on any of the stocks mentioned, I have dozens of videos on all of the stocks mentioned on my channel. I recommend doing deeper dives before deciding to purchase any of these stocks. Of course, this is for entertainment purposes only, and this is not financial advice. Let's take a look at these 9 growth stocks. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. All right, so my 9 top growth stocks to buy right now in no particular order are NVDA, Amazon, Snap, Fiverr International, PayPal, Salesforce, Uber Technologies, Alphabet, and Chewy. And you'll notice something in common with all of these growth stocks I like right now, and that is a relatively inexpensive valuation. Now, growth stocks typically trade more expensively than the average stock in the S&P 500 index when measured by a forward price to earnings ratio. But these growth stocks specifically are not trading at that large of a premium. You'll notice the most expensive stock here is Amazon at a forward price to earnings of 31. Now, there are some growth stocks and some tech stocks that are trading at forward price to earnings close to 100. And those are not stocks that I'm usually attracted to. Typically, when a forward price to earnings is approaching those levels, the stock has to be perfect for me to appreciate the value there because it's already incorporating many of the excellent prospects into the valuation. Still, I have some of those stocks recommended as a buy, even though the valuations are expensive. It's just right now, none of those high forward PE valuation multiple companies made it to my list of top growth stocks to buy. Instead, I've chosen those that are trading at a forward PE of around 30 and below. And it's not that I chose that criteria as a selection method. It just so happens that these companies that I like are also trading at these valuation multiples. Some of these companies in here, I would be willing to pay a much higher multiple to buy. For instance, NVIDIA, I think at a forward PE of 28 is a bargain, and I would rank NVIDIA as a top stock to buy, even if it had a forward PE approaching 35. And so there's wiggle room there in terms of the valuation and my appreciation of the stock. Now, here's how this batch of stocks have performed so far year to date in 2024. I'm just going to show you the results here on screen so that later in the video, when I compare my portfolio against the S&P 500 index, you have the numbers yourself and you can do the comparison yourself to double check my numbers and make sure that they match and for transparency purposes. All right, so you may have noticed that I've only highlighted 8 stock returns here in this section, and that's because Chewy, I haven't had rated as a top growth stock all year. I only added it to my portfolio on March 1st, and from March 1st to August 1st, it's up 29.73%. So I've included the portfolio return of Chewy's price from March to August. Also, I previously had Fortinet stock rated as a top stock to buy, and I removed it from my list, or I should say top growth stock to buy, and I removed it from the list on May 6th. And so here's the performance of Fortinet stock during the period of my recommendation. It was up 0.48%. before I removed it from my list of top growth stocks to buy, but I have included it in my comparison against the S&P 500 because it was in my portfolio for a brief time. Now, the S&P 500 ETF has had a good year. It's up 14.46%. Even with today's big sell-off, it's still up more than double digits year to date. And the equal weight ETF is up as well, being increased by 7.94%. All right, so now let's compare how my portfolio has compared with the S&P 500. And you'll see here my list of individual returns. And then the portfolio overall has year-to-date delivered 14.92%, and that compares with 14.46% for the S&P 500. So my portfolio of top growth stocks has slightly outperformed the S&P 500 index. But if you compare it with the equal weight index, it's up considerably against the equal weight index, which has returned 7.94%. The big difference between the S&P 500 index and the equal weight index is the S&P is more heavily weighted towards large cap tech stocks. And so if you had a more concentrated portfolio where you held just 4 or 5 of the largest big cap tech stocks, you will have performed much better in 2024 versus having a broader portfolio. And that's why the S&P 500 is outperforming the equal weight index, because it's a top heavy index, and those top heavy stocks have outperformed the smaller cap stocks. Now you saw a bit of a rebalancing where smaller cap stocks performed a little bit better in recent weeks, but that hasn't really sustained. And still, the larger cap stocks are performing better year to date in 2024. So my portfolio against the S&P 500, slightly better, against the equal weight, much better. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. I don't want you to look at my portfolio of stocks and think that these are no-brainers and rush out and buy any of these stocks. This wasn't enough analysis in one video to come to a conclusion for any of these stocks. I recommend doing your own due diligence. I have several videos, like I mentioned, on each of these stocks. I recommend watching many more before coming to a conclusion on any of these stocks. These are all wonderful companies, but every company could make a good or bad investment depending on several factors that are out of our control. We can just do our best case research and come to a conclusion on what we think about the stocks that we're purchasing. So there you have it, my list of top 9 growth stocks to buy right now in August and for 2024. I've updated this list of growth stocks every month for all of 2024, and I will continue doing so for the rest of 2024. So keep this in mind, and I recommend watching all of these videos when I publish them, just so you can keep track of the performance and look at these stocks and the changing valuations and my decisions for adding and removing the stocks, and think about how that compares with your decision-making process on any of these stocks. And if there's a disagreement between what I think of a stock and what you think of a stock, that's a good opportunity to see where that disagreement is coming from. Is there a factor that I'm more bullish about that you're less bullish about? What's the reason that causes that difference? That's a good exercise when you're conducting financial analysis, because there's always two sides to a decision. If you're buying a stock, someone is selling the stock, you want to understand why they're selling. Also, in addition to looking at the bull case as to why you're purchasing. Before I let you go, let me tell you about the greatest deal on YouTube. With just a click of a button, you can get free financial analysis from a professor with decades of investing experience. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.